Hello and welcome, guys. We are here at the Eagles Nest podcast, powered by the Sports Lounge Media and sponsored by the Mogul brand. Guys, I'm joined here with my co-host, the chosen one. You guys already know my man's, and the Fantasy Blitz podcast, my Monday co-host. And ladies and gentlemen, woo! Your Philadelphia Eagles are the world champs. Good Lord. What a great last 24 hours we have had, guys. I know us as Eagle fans, it has been absolutely incredible. I'm in my Miami Vice era, guys. I got the crazy dress shirt on. I got the Eagles chains, and we are going to be feeling good all the way up until next September when the games start again. Guys, how are we feeling?
Oh, man. Woo! You want to take this one, Fantasy? Because I'm still.
Bro, I don't listen. I don't think that it's even clicked yet. All right, I don't even think I've come down. I really don't. I think I'm gonna look. Let's just be honest here. The clinic that was put on by both sides of the balls. It was masterful. It was a fucking movie that I was watching a movie, y'all. I was watching what I exactly wanted to happen, and that was belts to ass. And man, I got some videos on my TikTok, bro. I was going in. I felt bad for him now, but there was a young Chiefs fan that was sitting right in front of me. And he dug himself a hole. We got this little back alley. It's called the Eagles Nest, and so it's Eagle fans only. Well, it's supposed to be. So he came and sat right in front of me, and he did a lot of talking pregame, but he didn't do a lot of talking during the game. So,
and we've been pretty used to that this season, right? We hear a lot of that right there before it starts.
Yeah. So Sierra on TikTok says that I'm surprised Fantasy has a voice today. It was gone Sunday night.
That's my old lady. I'm telling you, I was letting everybody be heard. Ain't nobody was talking over me yesterday.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. And rightfully so, right? We feel like this Super Bowl, man, this one just meant more. And when we look at it from the perspective of Eagles fans and just the Eagles team in general, man, why does this one mean more, than the first Super Bowl championship that we had gotten over the Patriots, and both of them being dynasty enders, this one just felt different. You feel me? I don't know how you guys feel about it, but for me, man, it just encompassed everything that this team is about, right? We knew we were more talented on paper, but we also knew we were going to have to go in and get the job done. And all the scrutiny, all the doubters. I mean, our quarterback has literally been called trash all year long. The defense was told they weren't going to get it done. They hadn't seen a passing attack like the Kansas City Chiefs yet. Guys, chosen, how does this Super Bowl differ from the first one?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and how it differs is simply because in the Super Bowl with Doug Peterson, that team was an elite team. It was a great team, but the way that their path was to the Super Bowl to beat Tom Brady, even as magical it was with the Philly special and all that, they had the team to do it. They had the team. It wasn't like really a big shock that we beat them, other than we beat the Patriots. But the road and the playoffs wasn't like they knew that we knew what we had and we were going to win. I think the biggest differential is how much adversity in the last 3 years we had to go through, how much of ups and downs, and the down year of last year haunting us. The fact that, four games in, they wanted Nick Sirianni's head. And I'm sorry to say that, Coach, down below. But
hey, you know what, bro? I still got a job. I still got a job, bro.
They wanted, in all seriousness, they wanted his head. And, the Saquon piece, our secondary is not what it was. And, that's just, and then after the bye week, it was just like we're moving in all cylinders. And then I don't know about you guys, but it just seems this year that every game we played, it just didn't, even though we were the favorite, it didn't seem like we were the favorite. We had people telling us all we have to do is stop
Saquon, bro. If I had to hear that one more time, like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, and that was all season long, and it was like not giving our defense the credit, not giving our offense the credit, not giving our O line the credit, and it was all season long. And then we get into the playoffs, right? We play against the Green Bay Packers. We are supposed to lose that game, and
Yep.
then we play against the Rams,
the Red Hot Rams.
Red Hot Rams, supposed to lose that game. And it would just seem like they was downing us all season long and not giving the fact that number one, we had the number one defense that was, what did I say yesterday? Physicality, the physical like beings of these guys. And we've seen it in the Super Bowl, right? We smacked them. I think we had like a record of, I didn't even check all the stats, but I think 6 sacks, something like and that's off the top of my head. Dang, thank you guys. But
First of all, just to feed off that, fucking round of applause for Vic Fangio, bro.
A master class.
Round of applause for that.
A master class.
Did not, and I have checked this stat because this is how insane this stat was. I had to check it twice. You know how many times the Eagles blitzed yesterday?
0. Not one time.
He relied on a 4-man rush to get 6 sacks on Mahomes. And that to me should speak the dominance of that defensive line. Because guess what? In reality, with that defensive line, we wouldn't need great corners. We wouldn't need great linebackers because the defensive line is not going to give you the time that you need anyway. To answer your question, I have 2 aspects from it, and I like Chosen's adversity take on it. Guys, we can't forget week 5. We were counted out. We were 2-2 going into a bye week. They were saying we were done, canceled. Jalen Hurts ain't it. Saquon didn't work out. We all knew what this was going to be, and they take off. They get hot at the right time. And I got the Super Bowl I wanted. My soul was again healed. It is what it is. But another big reason why I think, and I think this is the reason that I ended up dropping a tear during the game. It wasn't because of the victory. It was because, it was the smiles on.
Did you see Mekhi Becton?
This is an ultimate team.
Like,
yes, I mean it was so wholesome. It was so humble. Everybody was just glad, you know what I mean, that it was over. That this is the result that had happened. But BG got me. BG got me, and if this ever gets out, BG, thank you for the memories, the hard work, and just the physicality that you brought to the Philadelphia Eagles, because you will be a legend for a very long time. And I think that's, I'm glad that he was able to go out.
Right. And I think I agree with your guys' takes, especially Chosen's physicality take. Guys, he said it all week long.
Yeah.
All week long, all we talked about was we have to come out, we have to punch this team in the mouth. The Chiefs didn't get that over in the AFC. Everyone's afraid of them over there. Lamar's afraid of them. Josh is afraid of them. I think the only one that'll really stand up and go toe-to-toe with the guy is Joe Burrow. So when you run into a team that's going to punch you in the mouth and say, this is what you're getting for 60 minutes, a dogfight, I can't agree with you more. I think that had to happen. I also agree with some of the things Fantasy is saying, man. This was an emotionally charged season for the Philadelphia Eagles. We went through so much turmoil, especially at the 2-2 point. All we heard was, same old Saquon. He's going to either end up hurt or he's going to cost you the game because he dropped the ball against the Atlanta Falcons. And then you look at the demolished game in Tampa. I was at that game.
The passing game wasn't it, and then Nakobe Dean goes down, and then Jalen hurts his knee, and then it was just one thing.
Yeah, it's so many things that counted us out. I mean, we were predicted to lose by almost everyone on every panel in every playoff game. It's like Chosen said, the Packers were supposed to come in and take care of us because we were overlooking them. But then when it wasn't the Packers, it was, the Packers are dealing with some injuries. Jordan Love might not be there. Don't worry. The Red Hot Rams will take care of them. Those Red Hot Rams beat the Minnesota Vikings.
The concussion with Jalen. That was
They'll
another.
take care of them. Don't
Yep.
worry. All of a sudden,
I mean, if I would have told you that we were going to be 18-point favorites in the Super Bowl, I would have had my license revoked.
it's
Like I'd have been able to no longer speak sports.
Yeah, no.
But you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's
I mean,
just,
they told us after the Rams game,
crazy,
they said,
man.
"Oh, the Rams are going to come take care of business." We beat the Rams on a last-second defensive stand, and then what did we hear? Well, if it wasn't snowing, the Rams would have got y'all. It was because of that snow the Rams got you.
I'm sorry, but I think the Rams were a better opponent than the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah,
What
we
did I
agree.
say?
Let's
Yeah,
get that out
didn't
the
I
way
say
right
the
now.
the toughest game. Yeah, the toughest game we played
Yeah,
was
let's
against
get
the
that out of the way
Ravens.
now.
I mean, the Rams.
Let's, if there's any Chiefs fans in the chat, I'm sorry about your ears, but I was absolutely disgusted yesterday that we had to play that team. In no Super Bowl, no way, shape, or form should the score ever be 34-0.
It just
I would have much rather
it's
played the
ridiculous.
Bills. I would have much rather
I
played
think
the
the
Ravens.
Bills would have given us a better game. But even after, the snow game, we said,
Absolutely.
okay, whatever, you guys got it. Don't worry. The Washington Commanders just beat the hell out of the Lions. They're going to come take care of you and go to their first Super Bowl. Then what happens? We beat them by 32 at home in a championship game. But then all of a sudden, it's, well, you still got to play Patrick Mahomes. You still got to play the baddest
Right.
man there is, blah, 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 blah. What happened? Belt to bottom in the biggest game in the world. The Rams have – hold on. I've got to pause to show you this.
Because who has a
The
better
Rams.
O-line? The Rams than the
Daniel.
Chiefs? Than the
Daniel,
Chiefs?
the Rams have a better – if
Or
you're
than us?
referring to the Chiefs, I agree with you. I pray you're not saying the Rams have a better O-line than the Eagles because that won't fly here.
No pun intended.
Yeah, that won't fly.
But no, going back.
Yeah,
But going back to your point, the differential point, right, is that the fact that we've been dealing with this for 3 years. Like, you got to remember, we went back to losing to Patrick Mahomes. And then we had to go back. We had a great season that season. We had a shot. Jalen Hurts played his freaking life out. We thought we were winning that game. I thought we were winning that game. And then we went to a season last year where it was turmoil. Then coming to this season, and that was the biggest thing, is that it was a 3-year stint. You know what I mean? Versus that 1 year we were solid. They didn't. That Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl, they didn't have to go through what we went through with the different coordinators dipping in and out. They didn't have to deal with none of the stuff that we dealt with. We dealt with a lot in the last 3 years, guys. And
100%.
yeah, and so that's why this one was so much more meaningful. And dang, this is gonna make me cry on live. I haven't even cried yet, but it.
Bro, when I tell you I've dropped it, that's why
years,
I let off with. I don't think it's hit
3
me
years.
because I really haven't cried. I've dropped a tear. I got teary eyed, but like, man, when we won 2018, I an immediate bawled.
Yeah, no, guys, we definitely went through more hardship for this one, and the whole world had counted us out before the game even started. A lot of Chiefs fans were in the lives talking about, three-peat incoming, already done. They can't get it done versus Mahomes. No one can beat Mahomes. And then when we beat them, we hear that, it just so happens Mahomes had a bad game. They had a bad game. Why did they have a bad game? Because your offensive line got abused for 60 minutes. Absolutely abused.
Abused.
Yeah, I'm not hearing it. And that brings me to another good point.
Illegal.
How is this from the Chiefs' perspective? How does this affect Patrick Mahomes' legacy? How does this affect the Chiefs moving forward? Because let's be honest, we're going to see the Chiefs in a championship game again. This isn't just going to cause them to disappear and go away. I think as long as Andy Reid and Spags are in Kansas City, I think Kansas City will always be competitive because they've already shown the ability to beat everybody in the AFC. So, how does this affect Patrick Mahomes and the GOAT talk and, Andy Reid and Spags moving forward?
I think it affects them greatly. I mean, I listened. I told y'all somebody was going to have to hold me back because I'm coming for throats. But I don't think the Chiefs will be as good next year. You're possibly not going to keep Kelsey. That's undecided. He's in his feelings. D-Hop is a question. You're not going to keep D-Hop, Rashee Rice, Worthy, and Marquise Brown all together. The defense needs a lot of help, in my opinion. Chris Jones may or may not come back. He, again, getting up there in age. I think that, I agree that as long as Andy Reid and Spag are there, that they will be relevant. I don't necessarily think that they will be the top team in the AFC next year if they lose certain pieces. We have to obviously see what their team is going to consist of next year. If it's the same roster, well, then I could see a top seed. But I think they are going to lose some pieces. Are they going to attract some is the question. Playing with Patrick Mahomes, that's probably an easy statement in a free agency class. But, there's a lot of questions I feel like surround the Chiefs. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like this is their one chance to get a three-peat. Are they ever going to get a three-peat again?
I don't think they'll get the opportunity
really
again,
don't.
at least not right.
And that was their one chance. And I'm sorry, but they blew it.
Let's say this: it got taken from them. You know what I mean?
It got ripped out of their hands 100%. But again, I just have to see what the Chiefs are going to be like next year. But I do again that loss is going to be daunting. I mean, we saw what happened after we lost the Super Bowl, right? We started out 3-11. Yeah, I mean, we had a rough year after losing the Super Bowl. Sometimes that hangover will transfer over. And so I just have to wait and see. But I would say by now that they would probably
Chosen. What do you think?
Yeah, the GOAT talk is over for now. We should have not even mentioned the GOAT talk for Mahomes. That's all done. I mean, he's still irrelevant. He's still number two. But he'll just not be Tom Brady. He hasn't beat Tom Brady too. That's another conversation too. When he played against Tom Brady, he's never beaten the GOAT. So to be the GOAT, you got to.
He's beaten him in the regular season, but not the postseason,
I mean that's where it matters, right? And so. With that being said, I look at it this way. If we could take the goggles off for 1 second and just really look and dissect the team, they didn't look good this year, and in the postseason they didn't look good either. And they so happened to find themselves in a Super Bowl with a heavy hitting, Philadelphia team that was grounded and built starting from the draft. And we talked a little bit about this off stream, Sunshine, is the fact that we built most of our guys on the defensive side are all rookies or 1 or 2 year players. Most of our guys have retired and they're young. And so when you're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, you're now looking at them as like, okay, now a lot of those players are going to be bought, they're going to be bought in. Mahomes is still going to be Mahomes. I mean, he's still going to play at a high level, but they're just not going to be the same team after this. The exposure is now there for the defense to how to play them, and the defense is what really carried them for the last 2 years. And so now that has been exposed, again, going back to fantasy, we don't know what's happening with Chris Jones. They lost Snead. I think if Snead was in the game yesterday, that would have helped them a little bit more because, I mean, Duffy was getting cooked. Watson was getting cooked. And so when you're looking at the Chiefs as a whole organization, other than Mahomes and the two coaches, Andy Reid and Spags, what really is the Chiefs going to look like next year if they haven't really built that team up to rebuild around? But you know what? The West has. There's teams like the team that Bo Nix is on, the team that all the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh is building. So now you kind of wonder, how does that division, now that the Raiders now have Pete Carroll and they're building on that side, how is that division going to fall? Because if they're not careful enough, there's other teams in there that can actually dethrone them from that division, and they will not be as relevant anymore because you have to make playoffs, and there's other teams that are building from the ground up to be good for a long time. So let me land the plane. The plane is that it's plain and simple. We know what we have in the Chiefs, right? But I just don't see them. I see them as now a wild card team next year. And I see now the Bills being great. I see, Debo goes over to the Ravens being great. He might even go to the Chargers. That would be great. And those teams are gonna be factors next year. And I just don't see the Chiefs doing it right now. Now they might to finish my statement would be they might start building now. But you know what? We probably won't see them in the next 2-3 years.
And that happens. You've seen them have the down year, the year that the not even really a down year, just the Bengals beat them that year to go play the Rams in the Super Bowl. And I think what the Chiefs really need to do, man, and I'll give my take on this as well. I don't think it damages Mahomes' legacy as badly as people think it's going to. I think it takes from the GOAT debate. It kind of puts him out of it. But we all know how we feel about that anyway. I think that it's Tom Brady. Tom Brady sits at the top of the mountain by himself, especially having 2 playoff wins over Patrick Mahomes that Patrick Mahomes can never get back. Patrick Mahomes is going to have to really sit down. I mean, he's 3-2 in Super Bowls right now. Tom Brady was also 3-2 in Super Bowls at a certain point in his career. To match Tom Brady, he'd have to rattle off 4 Super Bowl wins in a row to even match well, that's to be better. To match him, he could only lose 1 more. So I think that in terms of Mahomes' legacy, he'll be fine. He's still on track to end up being the best ever. I do think he is still on track to be in that conversation. But as of right now, it's shelved. It's Tom Brady. In terms of the Chiefs as a franchise, like I said, as long as Andy Reid and Spags are there, I think they will remain competitive. But I 100% agree with you. I think that they're going to have to put tools in that secondary. The secondary was abused this year. It was the worst part of their defense. Their defense is great in run defense. They have great young linebackers. Their defensive line is coming along very well. Chris Jones is obviously the centerpiece, but some of those other guys like Karlaftis and the other cat, I can't ever pronounce his name, are very good along that defensive front. And I think that gives the Chiefs life. But that secondary got abused. Trent McDuffie was in a box with a grizzly bear for 60 minutes and could do nothing about it. I know he looked at Spags at least 4 times in that game and was like, I don't know what you want me to do. Buddy's got me in a box and he's beating the crap out of me.
He was going against the most physical wide receiver in the league, and that's why that first flag kind of sent me off the deep end.
Right. Well,
I thought the officiating was soft altogether.
I'll take that.
On both
right.
sides.
And I think, the chat actually brought up a really good thing, so I'll pull it up here. Daniel says, I want you all to answer this question. Do you believe Mahomes can carry us to the Super Bowl with a good offensive line? Obviously, that was where the Chiefs' weakest point on offense was. The Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes was under duress all night long. And J.J. Watt made a really good point about it. I read it on Twitter before we started this show. When you have edge rushers that are dominating the tackles, not beating them, dominating them. There were times when the left tackle was being driven so far back that he was knocking Mahomes off of his perch. And for that pick to Bond was a direct result of Josh Sweat taking the left tackle and sacking Mahomes with the left tackle in his hands. And when you have that, all of a sudden, you can't chip guards over anymore to help the edge. You can't take any of those guys for help. So your interior suffers a little bit. And when you have Jalen Carter and Milton Williams, your interior can't really afford to suffer because you got a rhino at one spot and a freaking Wolverine at the other. So, the defensive line was just a total tooled animal in this one. And I think that, the Chiefs obviously need to retool the offensive line. We've seen them have success in the past when they have a good offensive line. So, yes, obviously, I think that Mahomes could take you to a Super Bowl with a good O-line. How do you guys feel about that question?
No. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than just the O-line being fixed. You got to fix, again, it's going back to that defense. You fix your O-line, but are you going to score 40 points? You know what I'm saying? With a strong defense that could keep you, 17.6. Just because your O-line is fixed doesn't mean that your wide receiver group is fixed. Your running back situation is fixed. There's so many attributes to the game that it's just not about just the O-line. Look at the Eagles. Take the Eagles for instance. How long have we had a good O-line?
Oh, well, we benefit from having the greatest offensive line coach in the history of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, it takes more than just that. So
Right.
I'm gonna say no. It's gonna take more than just an O line for you to be great, for you to go to the Super Bowl. Like even though Mahomes is magic. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys got to understand that there's two parts to this. There's three parts to this game: offense, defense, and special teams. And we played well in all
Yep.
three attributes. And by the way, Jake Elliott was 4 for 4. And
Oh.
he hit a 50, and he hit a 50-yarder, guys.
He got my
So, I mean,
confidence back. He's back to
Beautiful.
being Jake the Make.
even though it was in a dome, I mean, I give him that. But he did his job, right? Yesterday he did his job. So I mean, it takes more than that, man, than just an O line, man. And I don't think it's just fixing the O line is just gonna be. It's just it's just gonna fix everything. It's just not. You got to start all three
Yeah, no,
phases.
I full-fledgedly agree. I full-fledgedly agree. I mean, it's like I said, it's he said it's more than just the O line. It's their secondary that they got bullied. It's yeah, again, defensive line is coming on strong. You have good linebackers as long as you can keep them. And Mahomes is Mahomes. But again, my point was is you're not going to keep all these wide receivers that you had this year on the roster. D Hop or Brown's going to have to go. Kelsey's up in the air. It's just hard to say what your top priority is. Do I think offensive line is that? Yes, but there's more facets to the game than just that. To piggyback off the goat debate, I do think it's over. Find a little stat for you. Tom Brady threw 6 picks, 6 interceptions, and 10 Super Bowls. We obviously know his record is 7-3.
21 touchdowns.
6 picks. I believe so, yes. I don't have that stat in front of me, but I believe so. 6 picks and 10 Super Bowls. Mahomes now, after 2 yesterday, has 7 picks and only 5
Right.
Super Bowls. Brady, this is another one. Brady has lost in his 3 Super Bowls by a combined 15 points in all 3 games. Combined 15 points. Mahomes has now lost 2 by over 40.
Yeah. I mean,
Brady beat him, and we just smacked it. So it is what it is. But I've always been, and I've always told this story. I listen as a young buck. I used to hate Tom Brady. Tom Brady was the devil, and it took me into late adulthood to really come to terms when he won in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it comes with winning, right? We hate people that win a lot. But, unless it's the Eagles, they can win all they want.
Can I have one more response? Can I have one more response to the question? So he said yes. Mahomes can score 40 a game. We have Rashid Rice. He was on track for 1,400. Tom, my guy Daniel. He had more than enough time. A couple in a lot of the series in yesterday's game to score. The only time that he did score is when we had our second strings in there. So can he score 40? No. And the other point, just to end this, he scored 32 points, was the most he scored this season. I mean, he's played against trash teams. They never scored 40. So, yeah, that's that.
That's blasphemy for me. 23 yards, 23 total yards in the first half is crazy work. A. B, you only had 1 first down in the first half. C, you didn't even make it to the other side of the field, our side of the field, until the 3rd quarter.
And I mean, part of that has to go.
Devil magic, whatever it may be. The fact of the matter is that he shit the bed when it.
Part of that has to go to Vic Fangio as well in the defensive game.
Oh, 100%.
So we can all sit here and we can talk about the fact that Patrick Mahomes is definitely still at the top of the mountain in terms of NFL production. But where does it put Jalen Hurts? Right now, you see Jalen Hurts, who, by the way, is 6-3 in postseason play. He's 42-22 overall as a quarterback. Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion, 2nd team All-Pro. Guys. Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback in this league. He is a top 5 quarterback in this league. And I'm going to get both of your takes on this. But at the end of the day, winning is the most important stat. When we all get together every single year to watch these games, Do we get together, Chosen? Do we get together every year and we say, "I wonder who's going to win the MVP"?
Yeah.
Right. Do we get together every single year and we say, "Man, I wonder who's going to throw for the most passing yards"?
Yeah.
Right. When it comes down to it, what's the one thing we all look forward to? What's the one thing that solidifies a quarterback?
Hosting up that damn trophy.
It's trophies, guys. At the end of the day, Jalen Hurts is a winner. He's never going to win how you want him to win. He's never going to win how the media wants him to win. He's never going to throw for 500 yards unless he has to, because he can't do that. Believe that. But at the end of the day, Jalen Hurts is going to win how he wins within his system, and you guys are going to hate him for it. And you're going to hate that we sit up here and we say that he's top 5, but it's the cold, hard facts. He's got more championships. Okay, hold on. He's got more championships than Lamar, Joe, or Josh Allen combined. Why? Because they can't beat the big bad man out there in the AFC, Kermit the Frog. Who can beat him? Jalen Hurts. How do you guys feel about it? Is Jalen Hurts a top 5 quarterback in this league?
I think he solidified himself as number 2, in my opinion. Definitely top 5 in a lot of people's different categories, but for me personally, number 2. I mean, he just beat Patrick Mahomes that was going for a 3-peat. You know what I'm saying? So to be the best, you got to beat the best. Again, I just said it, right? With Tom Brady and all that. So Jalen Hurts just beat him, and he beat him with his freaking arm. He didn't beat him with Saquon. The dude got MVP, right? So definitely the best quarterback in the NFC. He's number 1 in the NFC. Of course, there's no argument there. Now, when you bring in these other stats, these other things, maybe they can put that into play. But he's hosting up a trophy, and he got the MVP trophy, which is the most important. And so I got him at number 2, guys. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I got him at number 2. There's no argument for me at that. And then if he wins a couple more, then we can have the conversation of the best to play in this era. You know,
Fantasy, what do you think?
Listen, for me, brother, I don't know if you guys caught it or not. BG and Jalen Hurts were having a moment after the victory, and BG told him one thing. He said, basically, I'm not word for word, but basically told him to start standing his ground, silence them, tell them that they're wrong.
Oh yeah, the interview.
And I'm honestly, I'm all for that. A lot of the players, a lot of fans don't like the player that claps back. Doesn't like the, you know what I mean? He's the media villain, obviously, at that point. The media sells him out to be something he's not. But for Jalen Hurts, man, I would love to see, I don't know if you guys seen any given Sunday, Willie Beeman, that's the type of energy that I want to see come out of Jalen Hurts. They've constantly derailed you. They have constantly put you in the dirt. You're talented, but you're not talented enough. Dan Orlovsky is saying that, there's nothing that he can do to be over Allen, Lamar, or Burrow, or Mahomes. His ceiling is top 5. That's crazy to me. I am at the point to where if Jalen Hurts is not in at least your top 5, I will not even
won't even entertain.
I won't even remotely entertain your football knowledge anymore. It is what it is. I understand everybody has their different facets of the game. As a true fan, I can't tell you that Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson would do any worse in our system. It would probably be a different system for every one of those quarterbacks. But that's the point, is it's Jalen Hurts' system. He's the one that makes the reads. He's the one that decides to take off or pass it our whole offense is an RPO system. And that's where he flourishes the most, is when the ball is in his hands. And that equals 2 wins. Wins are the most important stat in all of sports. I don't give a shit what sport it is. Wins are what matter. In any sport, it's a team sport. It's not an individual sport. There's no certain individual that can ever carry a team. Michael Jordan couldn't even do it. but I mean, it's helped when the system is yours, and I think that top two, I could get behind top two, but at least yeah, like I said, at least top five or
Yeah,
up
because
top.
who are you going to put at 5, right? Is the
I'll block you
question.
out.
Like even let's say in a world where we go Patrick, Lamar, Joe, Josh at 5, who are you going to put at 5? Justin Herbert,
There's nobody.
Trevor Lawrence,
Yeah,
Matthew Stafford? No.
Yeah.
You like even if in a world, and I agree with Chosen, I have him at 2. I think he's at 2. That's just my opinion. I think I agree with, and I also agree with you. Winning is what matters. It's the only stat that matters at the end of the day. And Jalen just does it better than your favorite quarterback, and you're gonna have to live with that.
phenomenal at it.
You're gonna have to deal with that and live with that. And at the end of the day, we as Eagle fans are lucky, blessed, and fortunate to have a guy who is not only so humble, but is truly only focused on winning. I think that's my thing with Jalen. He truly does not care that the media doesn't think he won't be top 5. He truly doesn't care that the media is like, well, he needs more All-Pros. Well, he needs more MVPs. He just doesn't care. He even said at the thing, or at the podium, he said, the only stats I care about are wins and losses. The only accolades I care about are Super Bowls. That's the only accolades I care about. And then I know you. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chris Long. I assume, correct? The Eagle. He said he ran into Jalen Hurts, and Chris Long had said by no stretch of the imagination are him and Jalen Hurts close friends. But he looked at Jalen after the NFC Championship game and said, "Hey, get it done." And Jalen Hurts responded to him and said, "It's already been written." Think about it, that sent chills down my spine, and it was instant.
Yeah, I mean, he was that confident, and that's I cannot, and that's why I'd fuck around. I'd put him in top 1. I do not want another quarterback, and that is wholeheartedly. I don't want a Josh Allen. I don't want a Joe Burrow. I want a Jalen Hurts. I want a mentally tough. Again, all that matters is winning, and that's just something you can't ask for more of.
Yeah, and what this does for his mindset, if we could just take a time to think about that. So I kind of categorize it as similar to Saquon Barkley, right? Saquon Barkley came from just a rundown, trying his best every single year with the Giants, just couldn't get it done. Carried them on his back, got him to a playoff game, still didn't win that. And then he all of a sudden gets traded, right? Goes to the Eagles and starts just playing, just having fun, just going out there, not really worrying about much. Everything else is going to come. The winning is now, he's winning. He's getting the yardage. He's running or he's playing great football like he's playing like a kid again. I think this does this for Jalen Hurts, guys. I really do. I think that all this stuff that happened in college, from all the different offensive coordinators to him losing in the Super Bowl and finally winning it, knowing that he could actually get it done, I think next year he plays like he's playing like a kid again. Yeah. I think he really does. All that pressure is now off of him, and he starts getting back to just getting hungry and just doing it again and just having fun. You're going to see a really great Jalen Hurts next year. I promise you that.
Yeah, I think you're going to see I agree. I think polished, right? That's the word we're looking for. I think we're going to look for a very polished and focused, but also a carefree Jalen Hurts. A Jalen Hurts that said, you know what, man? I'm going to go out here and I'm going to just play my game. And I know my guys are going to back me. I've got a great OL. I've got the best running back in football. Got a top 3 receiver in A.J. Brown. Got a top 10 receiver in Devontae Smith. Got one of the best tight ends in Dallas Goedert. You know what, guys? Let's just go out here and play ball. Yeah, no, I'm very pleased with the way this one ended. The season, it's crazy to me, and I do want to take a minute to say thank you to both you guys because I haven't really gotten a chance to sit down and say it. I started content creation in October, and man, couldn't have picked a better year, huh? I got to witness last year all season. I was stressed. You guys would have seen me a whole different me, man. I was stressed in front of the TV because I knew the whole year. I was like, this is not a Super Bowl team. This is not a deep playoff team. Like, even when we were 10-1, I was like, I see the issues. And then the bottom fell out, and what happened. Hated it for Jason Kelsey, and I said, "Dang, that stinks." And then coming into this October, I had a lot of people reach out to me and say, "Hey, man, do content creation. Worst thing that can happen is you just get to talk ball, whether people listen or not." And it has afforded me some of the greatest opportunities in my life. I've gotten to meet some really incredible people, both of yourselves included. What we're building here at the Sports Lounge Media is absolutely critically special in so many different ways. And to everybody that's involved with it, not just you, but Ken, down south, all those guys, couldn't be more thankful for you guys. You guys make this fun, man. And this is also to the viewers. Thank you. Never in my life did I think that 5,000 other individuals would ever sit down with me and want to talk sports. So thank you guys for coming along this ride. And man, the best, and in our words, chosen in fantasy, the best is yet to come. Truly, next season is going to be a special time in the Sports Lounge Media, and we cannot wait to bring you the best not just content, right? Not just sports content. You can get sports content anywhere. You're gonna get the best sports content on social media of any platform on the Sports Lounge Media, guys. NBA,
Wow.
MLB, football, it doesn't matter. We're gonna bring it to you, and it's you guys that have made it happen. So thank you so much. And this brings me into to kind of the final page of this night. What does our overreactions think, man? How do we feel about this? And let's just keep it to the Eagles. How do we feel this Eagles team will perform next season, currently where it sits? You can go first, Fantasy, and then we'll go with Chosen.
Sorry.
Yeah, so the question is, how do we feel? This is our way too early expectations for the 2025 Eagles. How do we feel that this team is going to perform currently with how everything is shaping up? Like, you can go from NFC East, divisional predictions to the Super Bowl. How do we feel like this 2025 team is going to perform?
Listen, I told y'all you're all gonna have to put a leash on me because I'm going for it, bro. I'm talking like this. There's another reason that I think this Super Bowl was more special than the last one is because we see that what we have, right? We see the potential of what it can be. And I'm just going to flat out say, I think that who's to say that we don't end the three-peat and start one of our own? I mean, we have some of the most key weapons locked in for the next couple years. There's a couple question marks, Dallas Goedert, but listen, I trust in Howie Roseman more than I trust in myself at times. The guy is a flat out genius. He always gets something done during the offseason. He never sits on his hands. We're always getting better in something one way or another. And us being at the top of the mountain, I mean, the only way is down. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. Jalen Hurts is arguably in his prime. Saquon, arguably in his prime. AJ, Devontae Smith. I could say Devontae Smith could be entering his prime years here coming up soon. Offensive line, as long as we keep drafting the way we are, and as long as we have Jeff Stoutland, I have the utmost trust in that. So, I think that the way that Howie especially has set up free agents, draft class, and just the last 3 years, all the Georgia kids, he got a lot of hate for that. Bringing on Zach Bond, who was an outside linebacker and, wasn't anything. And then boom, all pro tackle, defensive player of the year, arguably. Again, draft classes were huge for him. I trust in this organization. And I think that this is the most confident that I've been as an Eagle fan to be able to say the dynasty word.
Chosen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna pump the brakes and not I'll knock on wood. I don't want to say three-peat, but I will say definitely back-to-back. There's not a team.
Yeah, I would say dynasty. Dynasty is a good
dynasty for sure. The only team that I think that on the NFC side that I would be interested to see if they could even match up with us is a healthy San Francisco 49ers. I think they would see. I see, with CMC kind of like the West Coast system, They have a defense. If they could stay healthy, and you gotta, I mean, Trent Williams is coming back next year. It'll be his last year next year, I believe. That's the only team next year that I would really look at as being a full threat. Other than that, outside of that, there's not an NFC team that I don't think that we could really beat, right? Now, going, somebody said Detroit Lions. Yeah, no, they lost both coordinators. We'll see what happens. But anyway,
Yeah, no,
go.
their
Yeah, the
window's
window's
done.
done. So going on the AFC side, though, I mean, we still got the Ravens. We got to see what happens with the Bills. Those teams are going to be great. Don't count out the Texans just yet. You know, they're looking strong. There's a lot of teams on that side, but it's not going to matter. They're going to have to see us in the Super Bowl, right? So the only team that I can see us battling maybe with is San Francisco for a year. But other than that, I mean, think about it like this: like if they get rid of Debo and Cooper Kupp, they do a swap. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that could be interesting. But I really don't see nobody else, man. I really don't. I really see us, you know, yeah, it's 49ers and that's it. There's nobody else in the NFC really you think about. If you really
I can see. I mean, minus Cup, if the Rams draft well, or attract somebody in free agency to replace Cup. I mean, there's no reason why I couldn't put the Rams up there. I mean, they're young. Their defense is young. They gave us some issues.
but
especially in
but
both games.
we're talking in the next 2 years. Like they would have to like really step it up in 2 years. Like we're talking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Stafford.
And
I don't see
Stafford's
Stafford.
Yeah, but
That's what I'm
Stafford's
saying,
great.
bro. I don't see Stafford there into you.
That's what it comes down to the draft class. You know what I mean? Like I think Jackson Dart. I've said it on. I've talked about it with Sunshine. I think Jackson Dart would be a phenomenal.
I'm
fit
glad you
in
guys
LA.
brought up.
I'm
glad you guys brought up the Niners because you know what terrified. It's hard to say terrify when you're an Eagles fan because there's not really any team that terrifies me. So
No.
yeah,
There's
so
nobody that I'm
a
terrified
team that concerns me as an analyst is that the fact that the Niners got Rob Sale back. Robert Sale is going to bring a grittiness back to that 49ers defense and make that. You got to look every year that he was in New York with those Jets. The Jets were top 3 in every defensive statistical category. Not top 5.
He's one of the best. He's one of the better
Top
defensive
3.
coordinators.
Them boys were
I can
good
agree.
on defense. And, now he's getting Fred Warner and those cats, Travarius Ward, if he chooses to resign with the Niners. All those guys are going to be that'll be absolutely sensational, man. I'm
But
glad
the only question mark is Brock Purdy. The only question mark is can he get him? He has to play at an elite level to play against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's the only thing that I would argue is he really the guy? Even though it's a plug and play system, right? Like any quarterback can come in and win some regular season games, but you're gonna have to get a guy who can actually take you over that hump to actually win something, right? Like they have to do just a little bit more than what he's giving. And I just don't think, even though the defense will play well, it might be a low-scoring game too in that game. But I just think Jalen Hurts is just a better quarterback if we were to play
100%.
against them in the NFC Championship. I don't think that. I'll just say how it is. I just never been a believer in Brock Purdy. I believe in the system. I think that this 49er, it's a plug-and-play system. I think of Sam Darnold, that was the backup last year, would have had just as great as he would have took him to the same route. He would have took him to the Super Bowl too, because it was a plug-and-play system. Now, needless to say, there has been a lingering injury with Brock Purdy with that elbow that we injured 2 years ago. Now, if that's going to be effective, like it's just that type of thing. I'm not worried about the defense. Obviously, CMC is going to be able to play. They got a Mason behind them. They got George Kittle. They obviously have. I'm not worried about Ayuk. For some reason, I'm just not worried about Ayuk. They don't even target him. They target him like 3 times a game. Like, what are we talking about? And
Yes, Juwan Jennings is their
who
best.
ended up having a good year though? Pretty Ricky, man, and that might be my Gator bias.
Ricky
but
Parcells.
Ricky Parcells was had a really good year. Really happy for Ricky, man.
He'll get a bigger opportunity next year with Debo going.
Yeah,
I think,
it's going to be interesting, man. I really do. But this is the thing about both. I'm going to tell you both. The most beautiful part is this is just the beginning for us.
Oh,
This is just the beginning for us.
That's what
We
I'm
got
saying.
four.
We got Saquon.
Hey,
We got
locked
4
down.
years.
We got Jalen Hurts.
Saquon literally-
like we are
yeah,
locked
Saquon
in.
literally came on and said, "Bro, this is year one. This
This
what
is
we're
year
talking
one.
about.
This is year one, bro.
That's why I'm not afraid to. That's why I'm not afraid to say that word. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for it, but bro, I'm so ready. It's not they're not
I've
ready.
switched
I'm
my mindset now. Like, and to anybody listening on TikTok, anywhere, this season, I let y'all have it because we had our little stumble last season. I was like, you know what? Y'all go ahead and talk. Go ahead. Do all that right there. After what just transpired last night and the way it transpired, y'all not talking to me crazy no more, bro. That's all dead.
Yep,
because
I'm
now
I'm not taking no
we
shit.
are the big bad man on the hill.
Yeah.
We took the big bad man on the hill. We didn't push him off. We kicked his ass off. Okay. We put our boot on bottom and pushed him off the hill. So at the end of the day, we are the team to beat now. And there's a lot of pressure that comes around with that. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And I just think that this organization is built, and I'll go ahead and give my 2 early takes. I think next year, like Chosen said, we see a much more relaxed Jalen Hurts that plays, and especially if Kellen stays.
That's what I wanted. I wanted to touch. Yeah, I wanted to touch on that.
Right.
Before you finish, though, let me touch on that. I think that for my final take, I think that's the question mark there. Kellen Moore stays, bro.
Yes.
It like that's crazy, right? But also, I could say on here because this is part of the Sports Channel media. Now, our backup is Frank Wright. They spotted. I don't know if you guys knew this, but they spotted Frank Wright and what's our coach name? Damn, Nick Sirianni. How did I forget what the hell's going on with me right now? I'm super excited.
I'm right here, bro.
I'm just overexcited right now. Okay, so Nick Sirianni and Frank Wright, they were spotted during the Super Bowl week, media week. They were spotted having dinner. That's a telltale sign just to say, Kellen leaves. Are you interested in coming? And running our offense.
Yeah.
What does that say to our offense, though, that he's going to be back in Frank Wright's system? You know what I mean?
I mean, for me, I wouldn't mind Frank Wright back. He wasn't he the
Super Bowl champion
our coordinator when
2017?
Doug Peterson.
2017.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind him. I think that losing Kellen would be a big thing for me. Again, I just want the continuity with Jalen Hurts. Him going through so many coordinators is really unfair to him. And I think it speaks volumes, the amount of success that he's had having so many different coordinators. And that's why I won't allow him out of the top 5 situation. Yeah. But for me, if we lose Kellen, which my theory on that situation is that he should not take New Orleans. He should wait till next year to get a better opportunity because New Orleans
and his money, his stock is high.
He's going to have too much.
Now his stock is higher too.
Yeah, it's even if you come back next year, your stock's going to be even higher.
Get a better job.
And it's just the destination for me. Spencer Rattler is not it. The New Orleans and they've come out. New Orleans organization has come out and said that they trust Spencer Rattler. So I expect him to be the starter next year. And that's a sticky situation to get in, man. I mean, you have nothing to work with and you have no defense. Your defense is old, if anything. Your wide receivers are your best highlight on your offense. Kamara's getting old. Good, I mean, I think I get what you're working towards. I understand getting the opportunity is what the ultimate goal is. I understand that, but I don't see New Orleans as an opportunity. I see New Orleans as you're going to go there, you're going to get fired year 1 or year 2, and then you're going to be back to square one. Sit for a year, work with the same offense that you just were in, wait for an opportunity next year. Now, however, if he does leave, I am very confident that Jalen, Saquon, and this offense are going to attract somebody of a high stature that's going to be able to come in and say, okay, guys, I'm here to work with you. You know what I mean? Like, help me help you situation. What are you guys comfortable with? What are you guys strongest with? and use the weapons.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at
I
Jalen's
think
done
Frank-
it
I
with
think
9 other
Frank can do that.
coordinators, so we know he can do it.
Yes.
But so before you go, because I know you want to finish your statement, Sunshine. But we are at a place where Jalen Hurts is now what they said he couldn't read defenses. He is reading defenses now, and he is doing audibles. He's working with Saquon to switching sides. He's doing a lot of the things. So no matter who the offensive coordinator is, he's walking into a paint. I'm not saying he's Peyton Manning, and I'm not saying he's Tom Brady, but he's walking into it as an older individual of the game and can see it for what it is, and now change it up, switch it up, so it doesn't matter with that. But go ahead, Sunshine, finish your. But that was just my question mark too.
And both of you are making like a lot of good points. I think that I think we can all agree we have reached a point in Jalen Hurts' maturity in his career where now he can kind of call some of his own shots, right? Like he can kind of call some of those things. We did see him, audible and get Saquon that led directly to Saquon Barkley's 60-yard touchdowns. Or in the Super Bowl, what was it we seen? He threw up that hand and said, "Hey, I'm fitting to throw you this one-on-one ball." You got Trent McDuffie.
Well, no, he did one of these. He said, he pointed at AJ and said, "Pow, coming at you, boy."
In a body bag. Hold on, let me get you this ball. So Jalen Hurts has moved into a place where I think it's irrelevant. Not irrelevant. It's less important who the coordinator is, and more important is can they gel with Jalen? Because I think Jalen has reached a point of maturity where he can now call some of his own shots and have the offense running through him. Because a lot of people that like to say that the offense is all Saquon and all defense don't understand how football works. The quarterback is the catalyst. Guys, everything runs through the quarterback. Quite literally everything. From running the football to making the checks.
The RPO system should never leave Philadelphia as long as Jalen Hurts is the quarterback.
So for me,
ever. I don't care what coordinator comes in. Guess what? You're learning RPO today.
So you better get ready to
the ball in his hands is the most beautiful
you better get
thing
ready to speak. You better get ready to speak RPO. So at the end of the day, I think that this Eagles team has a quarterback that is entering his most mature years as a competitor. The defense is extremely young everywhere outside of Darius Slay, who is by the way also expressed the desire to come back and play in Philly for his last year. I wouldn't hate it. I thought his production as a 34-year-old cornerback was extremely beneficial. Would love to see.
I mean, he's leading the young guys. I mean, give him another year, draft another corner. I mean,
I would love to see him come back. The defense is young. It's hungry. It's aggressive. We've got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back there who leads the secondary. Reed Blankenship was absolutely incredible. We already know the deal on Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. They're future superstars. I loved some of the stuff Isaiah Rodgers did. That defensive line is a freak unit. And, God forbid we add a Joey Bosa or a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby. God forbid the NFL lets us go get the last Infinity Stone, because if we get one more pass rusher like that, it's a wrap. But as for
we are.
It's gonna happen.
No, I can guarantee you, we are in the mix for one of the three.
And at the end of the day, we're gonna grab one of those guys. And Josh Sweat had his way in that Super Bowl and went and earned himself a bag. And I'm so happy for Josh. He deserves it, and I hope if we end up moving on from him, I hope he finds success. But could you have imagined Myles Garrett on that left tackle? Or a Max Crosby?
No.
It wouldn't.
They wouldn't want to see it.
We would have.
They would have had to put him in prison for what he was doing
to
to the guy. So with all that being said, and all the pieces that are in line, Jake Elliott, started to finally come back on because special teams is a phase of the game, so it is something we should address. I thought tackling wise in special teams this year, we were phenomenal in special teams defense. So with all that being said, guys, we run the NFC East. We run it. It's ours. This is our division. Everybody else's little brother. That includes the Washington Commanders. I think that we finally go out and get that 1 seed next season. I think we get the 1 seed, and guess what that means? That means the playoffs runs through the link again, that scares the shit out of the NFC. And I think we do get an opportunity to go back to the Super Bowl. Do I think it's against the Chiefs? Time will tell. I'm leaning Ravens. Because of how this season ended, I know they're going to come out hungry, but you can never doubt Patrick Mahomes. I do think we're going to go back to back. Anything after that is far too far in the future, but I do see this Eagles team back to backing, and I do see us having one of our best years as a franchise ever next season. Now, could I be wrong? Sure, but that's why they call it a too early take, right? So we'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
It's one of it's
I mean,
it's
just
one of
for
the
me,
two. It's either the Bills or the Ravens. It's not. You're not going to see. And Cincinnati could be in the mix. Cincinnati Bengals, they could be in the mix, but they got a lot of defensive structure they need to structure out before they can get to that caliber. Let's see what the Bills do in the offseason. I don't want to count them out. I'm counting them out right now, but let's just see what they do in the offseason to improve. I mean, they could go pick up Debo. They could go pick up other pieces. I mean, there's pieces that are going to be out there for them. So I'm not counting out. I'm saying this is what I'll say: 60% Ravens, 40% chance for the
Bills.
The Bills. Yeah.
And then you got to let's call it 30%, and then we'll give Cincinnati a 10%, because I think if Cincinnati goes and retools that defense, I think Cincinnati will be in the mix in the AFC. And that's
fair. I mean,
we got to realize that I think we have a core set. And I think that's the scariest.
I just don't think that would be a good Super Bowl, because Joe relies on his arm and us getting to the quarterback. I know. I'm sorry, Stormy, if she watches this. I apologize. I'm just being real. Like, if you're ball dominant, like the person that's gonna beat, man, I hate saying it like this. The people that are gonna beat us are the people that can run the ball on us. It's not gonna be the person with the arm.
I agree with you.
You've seen what happened,
because we play a very physical brand of football, and when a team can match us, that's when it gets hairy. Because you look
they have to get all the same tools. They have to have all the same tools.
Yeah, no, and you have to. You got to look at the Rams. Rams did a really good job doing that. Kyrie Williams was getting yards. You know, they were playing pretty physical. And then that opened up things in the passing game, and everyone knew Matthew Stafford could get it done. But at the end of the day, guys, I appreciate both of you for coming on here. It's been fun. You know, we've ran over our time a little bit, but that happens when you win a Super Bowl, right? You get a little excited, you get a little comfortable.
Let's go. Let's go.
It's all about the birds. Guys, at the end of the day, I want to say thank you to all of our viewers and everybody who has followed the Sports Lounge Media. Look at my co-hosts. They're showing up the memorabilia. They got all the goods. I mean, we got a ring in the bottom corner, for God's sakes. I know he's going to get another one, because that ring needs a little brother for sure.
It's coming, brother. It needs a friend.
It needs
a friend real quick.
Guys, thank you so much for following the Sports Lounge Media, for following Fantasy Blitz Podcast, for following Chosen, for following Sunshine State Eagles. Guys, all of these things are here for you as the viewer. We're here to entertain you, and we're here to also bring you unbiased football knowledge, along with some fun along the way. And you guys have made this absolutely incredible. Like we said earlier in the pod, the best is yet to come for the Sports Lounge Media. Next season, you are going to get to see some in-depth content. We already had a guy out in New Orleans this season, Ken's Pat's Talk on TikTok. If you want to go check it out, he's got some really good content as well. Guys, you're going to see more of that. We're going to get some of these high-profile things. We're going to get to go to these events and talk to these people and bring you the content in our own unique ways. And you guys make it happen, bruh. If you're not watching, we're not going to be able to do it. So it's you guys that do it, and I can't thank you guys enough. At the end of the day, man, it's Go Birds. From now until September, we're riding high, and we can't wait. The content doesn't stop because the Super Bowl is over. We are going to be bringing you content, whether it be in the NBA, the MLB, off-season acquisitions, the draft content, you name it. We are not going anywhere, guys. The content is 24/7, 365. You heard it here first. I can't wait to bring it to you. Me and Fantasy are going to get together. We're going to do some really fun and exciting mock draft stuff. We might get a chance to go out to the combine and try to get some of those athletes on content. It's going to be a really exciting time. I want to say thank you to the Sports Lounge Media for, powering us here at the Eagles Nest, and to our dang, I had a brain cramp. To our sponsor, the Mogul brand. Without those guys, the show doesn't run. At the end of the day, guys, I thank both of you for your time. It's Go Birds, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next one.
Go Birds.
Yes, sir. Yeah, hey, little sneak peek into tomorrow, man. I actually have a professional football player coming on the podcast.
That's on Tuesday, guys. Tuesday, right there.
That's it. That's it. Like I said, the content doesn't stop just because football stops.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
All right. We're going to start getting some guests on.